Hello, I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people that inspire me. Today, we're going to speak to Joe Lucas, right here from the beautiful Calabasas Country Club. And we've just had morning rain, so the course is looking terrific. But I thank all of the people here that make it possible. Now, Joe Lucas is an interesting guy and an interesting designer. He's the founder and principal of Lucas Studio, a high-end residential interior design firm based in Los Angeles. And in 2008, Joe opened Harbinger to the trade showroom in Los Angeles in the La Cienega Design Quarter. Then, not only was that a wonderful happening for us in Los Angeles, but in 2018, he opened a second Harbinger location in New York. He's executive board member of the La Cienega Design Quarter and a member of the Leaders of Design Council and the Design Leadership Network. I don't want to waste a minute. Let's talk to Joe Lucas.
Hi, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Joe, I want to venture a little bit into your past. And I want to find out what it was like being an actor on Will and Grace.
Oh, gosh. It feels like a lifetime ago, but acting is what I studied through school, through high school, through college. That was my major. It's what brought me to Los Angeles after a couple years stint right after college in Seattle. Moved down to LA to really try my hand at commercials and TV and maybe film and stuff. And Will and Grace was sort of the last thing that I did before I went full time into design, because I was my side jobs, instead of waiting tables, because I was like, I don't want to wait tables. Every other actor waits tables. And a friend of mine got me a job working for Claudia Benvenuto, who owned an amazing antique store on Beverly Boulevard called The Fainting Couch, which is no longer there. Claudia is still doing her design work, but so I was sort of helping her around the shop for a little bit, and then slowly grew up with her and started working on design clients with her, and it was great, and it gave me the flexibility to do my acting and to do my auditions, and I was lucky enough to have my final thing be Will and Grace. It was great.
On Will and Grace,
yes,
I
was not Jack.
No,
or Will,
no.
or Karen.
But you worked for Karen, right?
No, I was Jack's boss at Barney's. So no, it was, oddly enough, I did not have anything to do with the interior design business on the show, but that would have been a funny twist. No, I was Jack's boss at Barney's, and I was promoting him to assistant manager. And then Cher came to him in a dream and told him that he couldn't give up acting, and he quit on me.
It gave you a good, preview of what
Yes,
was going to happen.
Exactly.
Let's talk about designing on both coasts.
Yeah.
Because I think you're a cool kind of guy. I mean, I don't think anything really ruffles your feathers.
I try not to let.
Well, that's the demeanor.
I try not to
that's
let things
ruffle.
Yeah,
but
I think that's probably
it...
my upbringing, and in my family, we like to, nothing ruffles too much, or if it ruffles too much, you just sweep it under the rug, right?
Well, that's right. But I mean, how is it when you live most of the time in California?
Yes.
How is it to manage both showrooms?
The showrooms, as far as the showrooms, the New York showroom is a lot smaller than the Los Angeles showroom, so it's easier to deal with. It's pretty set with our lines. I have a great manager there who, honestly, he calls me every once in a while. It's like, hi, remember us? I always call that Harbinger, New York's like my stepchild because, it runs itself. I go when I'm back there and check in, and obviously I'm checking in with the team there as much as I can, but for the most part, it's, the clients are our usual clients, and if there's any issues or new inventory that I need to send out, I do that as soon as I can. But it's just nice to have a presence there.
Sure.
Obviously, since I grew up in New Jersey, it's nice to have an excuse to be back in the New York, New Jersey area as much as I can too.
And it's at 200 Lex. Right?
200 Lex, the New York Design Center.
And that was interesting because I worked for Ethan Allen, and Ethan Allen used to be headquartered right across the street.
Right across the street,
from
that's
200
right.
Lex. And then we moved to Connecticut, which is
Yeah.
wonderful.
No, I love the 200 Lex is a great building to be in. It's smaller than the big D&D and less cumbersome. And Jim Juckman, who owns it and runs it, is amazing and a great supporter of the design world and of Kips Bay and all these different events. So it feels like home. It was the only place when I kept talking to him about opening something, I had a specific showroom in mind that I knew was going to come up available at some point. And I said, don't worry, there's nowhere else I'm looking. I'll open it when the right time comes. And luckily the showroom opened up.
And John Saladino is still...
He is still there. He moved up a floor. He used to be sort of next door, I think, to where I originally was. But he still has the small office and a little bit of a shop, I think.
All of these design legends have all helped me along the way.
Yeah,
and John was especially very, very helpful.
Yep.
Maybe it's his Italian heritage that helped me out. But Mario Boato was another one, too.
Yeah.
Really great friends. Now, Jersey Shore gets a bad rap.
It sure
But
does.
why, I don't know. But Californians, they think it's like in the middle of Elizabeth or Newark, New Jersey.
I know. Jersey's getting a bad rep today because of the earthquake.
Oh, I know.
I know.
But let's hear a little bit about your childhood. Were you born in Bayhead?
No, I was born up north. We lived up in northern New Jersey, sort of, I guess it's sort of central north New Jersey, in like Plainfield, in the Plainfield area.
Sure.
And grew up in Plainfield and Edison and Watchung during our school year.
I know it well.
Yep. And then my dad commuted in every day into the city for work. And then we would spend our summers down in Bayhead where my father grew up during the summers as well. So, and then I'm the youngest of six. So once I graduated and got the heck out of high school, my folks moved down to Bayhead and Manahawkin full time.
I'm the youngest of five.
Yes.
The youngest child.
Yeah,
but we, our first home that we ever owned was in Haworth.
In Haworth, okay.
And we loved that area
Yeah.
of New Jersey. And then we would go to our summer home, which my father had in Seaside Park.
Seaside Park.
And he loved the ocean because he was from Calabria. And although he was actually born in Stromboli, and the only reason is that his mother was on vacation, and she said, "Stop the boat. I'm going to have this baby now."
This is
so
great.
they wound up on this volcanic island.
Oh my gosh.
But he always loved the sea, seafood, and typical Calabrese.
Seaside and the Jersey Shore is amazing, and there, obviously there are different areas of it. Everyone's always like, "Oh, you're from where Snooki is," and I was like, "No, that's not quite the same." Bayhead and Manahawkin, where I'm from, is a very quintessential Jersey Shore,
Absolutely.
shingled shore colonial homes, and,
Little gem.
Yes, and families that have been there for years and years and decades. So it's great, and then new people move in and they become part of the family, and it's a special place for me to go. And then we've done a lot of projects down there as well, which has been really nice.
When did you know you wanted design?
I obviously when I started working for Claudia, I felt, okay, I've got a knack at that. I'm like, this is something I'm good at. It's creative. It sort of checks all the boxes that performing and acting did as well. When things were getting a little slow on the acting side, I had an offer to go work for Michael Smith, and it was sort of that job that, as I always say, any girl would kill for. And it was hard to say no to that, but it was really full time, and so it was a little bit less, being able to go out and grab an audition and see how things are going. So
and he had
think
a big theatrical clientele.
He did.
Yes.
He did. And interestingly enough, the director of Will and Grace, James Burrows, who directed all the famous shows, the TV shows all through the thing, was actually a client too. And it was funny. I was at a meeting in their house one time, and he sort of looked at me, and it was probably about 9 months after I had shot The Will and Grace, and he looked at me and was like, "Wait a minute, I know you. You look familiar." And I was like, "Well," I was like, "Good memory." So that was funny to have those two worlds collide. But I went and worked for Michael and for 3 years, and then went off and opened Lucas Studio with my then business partner, Parrish Chilcote. And we were partners for 10 years, and then we split and broke off, and she's got Cameron Design Group and doing amazing work.
Now, you also, in terms of design, get involved in architecture too.
A little bit, not crazy amounts. We
But
sort
you
of
work with...
we work with the architects for sure. If we're coming on to a ground up construction, we will absolutely work with the architects to tweak some things, or we'll help with like the interior architecture. The latest project that we did in Bayhead that'll be published this summer, the architects did the basic plans. They did the exterior elevations, the whole floor plan and everything, and then we really took it upon ourselves to add all of the interior architecture of it, the paneling, and to really make this house an old Bayhead house and give it the character that it needed.
What would you call your design style?
No, we always sort of say we're like East Coast traditional with West Coast cool. I think is someone described it that way once, and that's what sort of sticks, because it's very much both coasts.
Someone asked me once, and I said, "Well, it's as if John Fowler moved to Los Angeles."
That's good.
I'm patting myself on the
Yeah,
back, but
I would take that.
I remember putting together, when I was at Home Magazine, Home's House, and I wanted to create this English cottage. And everybody thought I was nuts. They said, "Well, this is a ranch burger in the middle of the valley.
Right.
How do you intend to do this?" And we worked on it, but I've always had great admiration for the English designers.
Of course, absolutely.
But you mix a lot.
I do. I'm not known for white boxes or like crazy modern houses, which we would absolutely do on a heartbeat as well. But I think we get hired a lot for certainly more of the beachfront kind of look, but just a little bit more traditional. I use a lot of color. I use a lot of pattern. I layer those together. So I'm not afraid of pattern and mixing. I think it helps make a home really a home and feel very lived in. I think making a house feel comfortable and is really important. Sort of the best compliment we get when somebody sees a project is go, "Wow, it feels like they've lived here for 50 years or something." And I love to hear that, because it really means it doesn't all look brand new. And
I
it's
think
like
you're
it's straight
being
out of a
very
store.
modest, because I think your style and your technique really is unique. But I wonder, when you make the presentation to your clients, does anyone say, "Well, I'm not sure"?
Of course, all the time. A lot of people are like, I joke. One of my sisters, whose project we had and is in the house beautiful this month, she is famous for when I would show her things, she would be like, "Well, I don't think those fabrics match." I'm like, "Well, they don't match, but they go, and there's a difference." And she was like, "I don't understand the difference." But it's not everything has to be so matchy-matchy.
Right.
It all ends up being, it all works in the end. So there's always, one fabric that becomes sort of the one that pulls everything together, and there's always a little bit of a kooky color in some fabric, and it works. Not everything has to match.
Any other secrets in terms of successful clients? And
I think the clients that end up trusting us in the end, or in, I guess, the beginning, are the most successful projects that we'll have. I love to do a show house here and there, because there is no client. We're the client, so we actually get to show exactly how we would do a space. And we tried, whether it's successful or not, because so many people love to do a show house and make it like crazy big and go out of the world. I like to make it look like one of our projects, like somebody was actually going to live there instead of all the bells and whistles. So that's always fun to be able to do that. So I think the last house that we did in Bay Head, I mean, all of my clients end up trusting me, but the last project that we did, that we installed last summer is definitely special because the client was like, go for it. I've wanted you to do whenever we were going to finally build the forever house, you've always been the one that I wanted to do, and I want you just to do Joe, do your thing and fully trust it. And there's a lot of pattern and a lot of layering, and I love it. It's a great project.
That is a very interesting approach, because I can remember when I started in the design business and I was doing clients. Now I design for manufacturers because I don't have your patience. But I can remember this woman calling me up out of the blue and saying, I've just bought a house on Orcas Island and I would love you to design it. And I said, well, I don't really handle, clients, private clients. Long story short, years go by. Mm-hmm. She opens a showroom in the design center in
Los Angeles or
in
Seattle.
Seattle. And I go visit because she's handling my product.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was just thrilled to see her. And I said, well, I'm sorry I didn't do your house.
You should have taken that project. Orcas is beautiful.
My products, I know. But what is it like in terms of your designing? You have a lot of manufacturers that you represent in your showrooms.
I do.
But you don't design any of the pieces?
I do. Well, I have a small collection of furniture, the Harbinger by Hand collection that I do have at the showroom. It's small. It's not tons of pieces. But then for the most part, like in Los Angeles, I probably rep about 35 to 40 different lines, whether it's fabric, wallpaper, lighting, furniture lines, small ceramicist, and small accessory lines. Our big lighting line is Hector Finch that we have from London, and we represent them in New York and in LA. And then we have a few fabric lines that we have in New York, but for the most part, when I opened the showroom, most of the lines that I have in LA were already carried in New York, and I don't really have the space for more, so it's mostly my furniture there. And I always describe Harbinger as it's, a few of my favorite things. So I have all the lines that are there are ones that I truly love and would use in projects. I don't use just Harbinger lines in all my projects. I definitely use other friends' lines and other lighting. It depends on what the house is. But it's always nice to just sort of stand up from your desk and walk a few feet out into the showroom and be surrounded by beautiful things that we definitely want to try and incorporate into projects, but we don't push them necessarily.
Where did the name Harbinger come from?
Harbinger is the name of my parents' 1928 wooden sailboat that they have, and I just always loved the name, and we were trying to come up with the name of the showroom, and I thought, a lot of people are like, why'd you name it Harbinger? It's like, isn't it Harbinger of Doom? And I said, no, it's a Harbinger is a forerunner of things to come. So, Harbinger of Spring. You don't always have to take the negative connotation of a Harbinger of Doom. So I love that it's the Harbinger of, beautiful things to come.
Well, what was it like doing the Bay Head Yacht Club? Did you have members trying to...
There definitely were some. That was a really special project because it was a historic renovation or historic restoration, actually after Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Irene had sort of really pummeled the yacht club that I had grown up at my whole life, and my family and my father had. It was found in 1888 and grew over the years into a much bigger structure, and it was structurally not sound after those two storms. So it was very nice. I was at the time, sort of the only professional interior designer that was a member. So they reached out to me, and it was a job that I sort of couldn't say no to. It definitely was tricky. The way it was set up was very good. The Commodore at the time really set it up that it was a very small committee. It was basically me, one member who was an amazing woman that I had known since I was a child. She was, ran the junior league with my mother up in Plainfield back in the day, and she had very good taste. So I would sort of present to her and to the Commodore my ideas. We, tweaked it down to something that was nice and tight, and we presented that to the Board of Trustees. And it was nice. They had it set up. They were like, this isn't really here for feedback. You can give a little bit of feedback, and we adjusted a couple things, but it's a big enough membership that if we opened it up to everybody, there would be, the new members would want something fancier. The old members would think that what we were doing was too fancy and not reminiscent of the traditional aspects of the club. So I think it really helped that I was a member and grew up there and wanted to keep the tradition alive and the feel so that it didn't feel like it was this big, new, shiny, fancy club. So
any Wicker?
Oh, yeah. There's Wicker, there's Rattan, there's...
I always think of New Jersey Shore and Wicker.
Yeah, I know. It's a little harder to do too much Wicker in a club that has so many members and so much wear and tear. But trust me, I wanted to get it in a lot more places. But there's some fun wallpapers and there's definitely nautical things here and there, but it's not over the top, and pretty soothing paint colors. It's great, and it's held up very well.
Now, your dad was a big boat person.
He
right?
was. He was a big sailor and a member at the club all the time, for his whole life, and his parents were, and all my nieces and nephews are big sailors now and all come down. So it's a special town, yeah.
Great tradition. As you know, this podcast is called Inspired. And what really inspires you?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough question. I think, beautiful things, beautiful furniture, beautiful antiques definitely inspire me. I think I am definitely more inspired having opened the showroom to really be able to take in like beautiful textiles and wallpaper, pattern. I love pattern. So, finding those beautiful pieces to inspire a great house, I think is really important. But, art, I love important art. It's not the first thing that comes into a project. For most of my clients, they're not coming to me with millions of dollars of an art collection that we're going to build the house around, which so many designers have, which is amazing if you've got that. So we try and sort of build the house as the art, and then, as they collect over time. But I think just, really good people are inspiring too.
Well, you just posted a room that has a spectacular piece of art, which I commented on.
You did.
And what is that piece?
It was the Kips Bay Show House that we did in Palm Beach in 2020, just before COVID shut the world down. And I found that piece on one of my shopping trips for the showroom in the south of France. And I love it, and I'm still mad at myself that I sold it. Luckily, I sold it to a friend that I used to work with at Michael Smith, and he sold it to a client. I think it's actually maybe in the president of USC's office or something. So I know where it is. I can go steal it someday. But I love that piece, and we sort of built that show house room around that painting. And I wasn't ready to sell it to anyone. And I shipped it down to Palm Beach for that. And I am definitely, it was just, it was expensive when I bought it, and I knew I had to have it. I was like, okay, this is more than I normally spend over in France for things. I should have kept it. It's just got beautiful colors.
I'm going to repost that. So
okay, perfect.
On my Instagram, so people know what it's like.
I can't remember the artist's name, but we tracked down the artist, but it wasn't like a crazy well known. But it's got all my colors. It's like if colors. You look at it and like, oh, that's Lucas Studios, a painting for sure.
I thank you so much. This has been a real treat. I thank you for taking the time, because I know you're a busy guy.
Not that busy.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Keep inspiring us.
I will try my best.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.